Good morning. This is April the 16th, Tuesday 2024, and we are in BBIS second semester compulsory English class. And this, I guess, is the third class of the semester. In the previous class, we had assigned some students to present. I hope they are ready. And in the previous class, if I remember, I had talked about the elements of a story. In the previous class, I had talked about the elements of the story. Probably I might have talked about genre. If I had not, genre is a way of categorizing literary writings. For example, poetry is a genre, play is a genre, prose is a genre, movie is a genre. Then I talked, I guess, about setting, where I talked about time, place, and atmosphere. Then I talked about characters, where I said describe their physical appearance and mental habit, describe their relationship with other characters, and then describe what role they play in this story. Then, after characters, I talked about dialogue. As you read a story, chances are some characters say things to other characters which are very appealing, which are very emotional, or which seem to be very significant to you. They touch you. You note it down. For example, at one point in the very beginning, the narrator says that you should not quit until you achieve something. He has this athletic feeling. If you have a purpose, work to achieve the purpose, and do not stop until you achieve the purpose, whatever comes. Then after dialogue, I talked about plot. And while talking plot, I might have talked about action, I might have talked about conflict, I might have talked about complication, I might have talked about crisis, I might have talked about resolution. So, plot movement. What is plot? Plot is sequence of events, right? Sequence of events is plot. And you will see that a story may begin in a normal situation. Look here. I was up before the others, before the birds, before the sun. I drank a cup of coffee, wolfed down a piece of toast, put on my shorts and sweatshirt, and laced up my green running shoes, then slipped quietly out of the back door. This is the opening paragraph of the novel. And you will see that in this opening paragraph, everything is normal. Mostly stories open with a very normal situation. Very normal. There is a person, narrator, he is telling us about himself, and he says that he woke up before others, before birds, before the sun, drank a cup of coffee and took some snacks and left home quietly out of the back door. So a story may start in a very normal situation about plot. Then if you second, I stretched my legs, my hamstrings, my lower back and groaned as I took the first few bulky steps down the cool road into the fog. Why is it always so hard to get started? Now, right here in the second paragraph, if you see in the second paragraph, something interesting happens in second paragraph. And let me draw a vertical line and I'll say question mark. So he asks himself a question in second paragraph. And what does this question do? This question makes him think. Makes him think. Makes him ponder. Makes him ponder. Makes him reflect. So when he puts this question, why is it always so hard to get started? This is a turning point in the plot of this story. It's a point where the plot takes a turning. It's an important point. Because when he asks a question, what happens? His thinking is prompted. He starts thinking. So I drew a vertical line here to indicate you a turning in the plot. Now, there were no cars, no people, no signs of life. I was all alone. World to myself. Though the trees seemed oddly aware of me. Then again, this was Oregon. The trees always seemed to know. The trees always had your back. Paragraph 3. There is even more important. So I can see here, I'll draw a green-blue vertical line to point you. So why do I say this is important? What is important here? In this third paragraph, the important thing is the world to myself. Because I am a teacher, I have been reading literature for a long time, I know how to read. And you might not know how to read. So what do you see here? Here you see the seed of conflict. What conflict? Self versus world. Self versus world. In stories, conflict is a very essential element in every story. You cannot create a story without conflict. Story writers are very good at designing wonderful conflicting situations. So what you see in the third paragraph, if you have read the whole text, if you have read the novel, I haven't read the novel, I read only up to page 40. If you have read the 40 pages, you will see in these 40 pages that the narrator goes around the world. He goes around the world and he embarks on an adventure. He embarks on an adventure around the world. And right in the third paragraph, he is hinting us what is coming up. Writers, literary writers, when they are writing drama or anything, they hint you, the reader, about what is coming up in the very beginning. And they do not hint you directly. They give you signals about it. And if you are a good reader, you will note down the signal and you will start thinking, why he is saying this thing? This is called as foreshadowing. Foreshadow means something that gives you a hint before something is happening. Foreshadowing. In Nepali culture you say, oh yaar, मेरो आज देब्रे आँखा बिहानीबाट फरफर गरिरहेको थियो, यस्तो भयो आज, you say. So that देब्रे आँखा doing farfar is a sort of foreshadowing for you. An indication that something wrong is going to happen. Though this is superstitious, you shouldn't believe in such things scientifically. So here when he talks about the world to myself, so in paragraph 3 also it's normal, but though it's normal, I'll say there is some trouble. Now there is a stone in the pond. Up to paragraph 2, there was only pond. In paragraph 3, you see the stone in the pond. And when you throw a stone in the pond, what happens? You see circles arising. What do these circles represent? The development of situation, events. How do events develop? Events develop in a structure of cause and effect, and every next event invites the next event. And you will see as you move ahead, things become more and more complicated. In every story, every novel, every play, as you turn pages, further you reach 5 page, 10 page, you will see that in that world of the text, complicated things start happening. Right? This is called rising action. That is called rising action. Every story begins with normal action. And then there is a conflict. And this conflict brings rising action. Okay, read next. What beautiful place to be from, I thought, gazing around, calm, green, tranquil. I was proud to call Oregon my home, proud to call little Portland my place of birth, but I felt a stab of regret. Now look here. Now here we know about setting. No, we know it's morning because he says, I was up before others. It's morning. The story opens in the morning, early morning. Time we know. And when we say it's morning, we can guess atmosphere. It's peaceful, calm, cool, serene. There is no disturbance. There is no tension in the opening of the story. And here we know about the place. Now we know that this story is happening at Oregon, at least when it opens. And not only Oregon, particularly at Portland town, little Portland. Maybe it's a village, maybe it's a town. Portland, a place of birth. Now we know that this narrator was born here at Portland. But every time you find the word but, stop, pause for a while and be serious reader. Be alert when you see contrast markers like but, although, however. Why? Because they will say something important. In everything you read, I'm advising you, whenever you see words like however, even though in spite of, but, pause a while and look carefully what is coming up. And you will see that something important comes up. But I felt a stab of regret. Look, here he says he was proud to call himself an Oregonian. But next sentence he says, I regretted. Now, here I'll draw a red line and I'll write the word regret. Because the red line tells me that something important is happening now in this story. The character says he is regretting and we don't know. These are called as pointers or indicators in the story. They are pointers, they are indicators. They indicate what is coming up in the story. And such pointers build readers' expectations, your expectations. So the moment you read, I felt a stab of regret. It's a phrase, stab of regret. And you ask, why is he regretting? What is it about? 2, though beautiful now, look, though beautiful, Oregon struck some people as a kind of place where nothing big had ever happened. This is why he regret. This was a place where nothing big had ever happened or was ever likely to happen. And this narrator makes that big thing happen because he goes around the world. He goes around the world. Right? If we Oregonians were famous for anything, just a minute. If you have the book, you can follow. I won't change the screen right now. If we Oregonians have been famous for anything, it was an old trail. We had to blaze to get here. Since then, things had been pretty tame. At the end of the 4th paragraph, okay, I'll clear the screen and move up. Are you clear about these things? I wish I could move without clearing the screen because I want these things to continue. Okay. So sad. I don't know the technical thing, how we can continue with the screen. I designed a lot of things and now it's gone. Okay. If we Oregonians were famous for anything, it was an old trail. Now for the first time in paragraph 4, he mentions about an old trail. An old trail. He is running down the trail. He is on the road for morning walk, wearing running shoes. We had to blaze to get here. Since then, things had been pretty tame. Now this trail, now if you are a good reader, you will note down. And you ask a question. What does it stand for? In literary writing, writers often use symbols. What is a symbol? Symbol is a concrete object that stands for an abstract idea. A symbol is an object in a text that represents an idea. So, the trail, let's draw this trail. It's the trail. This is a concrete thing on the ground. What does it represent? It represents probably the journey of life. And the novel is opening. The novel is opening. So the trail is beginning. In the very first page, paragraph 4, the writer mentions about the trail. And the story is starting now. We are here. We are here, paragraph 4. And now the trail begins. And by the time you reach paragraph 4, page 40, you will see how many places he visits. He visits 20 countries around the world, even Kathmandu. He goes around the world. Right? Then, let's move to paragraph 5. The best teacher I ever had, one of the finest men I ever knew, spoke of the trail often. Second time he mentions trail. Right? So, his teacher also talked about the trail. It's our birthright. Look, the trail is birthright. The trail is their character. The trail is their fate. The trail is their DNA. Now we know very clearly that the trail is very important. That's why he talks so much about the trail. It must have a meaning. The cowards never started their journey on the trail. And the weak who started journey on the trail died along the way. So I'll say now, I know clearly by the time I read here, the cowards never started. I'll say the trail The trail represents adventures in our life. It represents adventures in our life. अब यसरी पढाएर तिमीहरूले के भन्छ, सरले राम्रो पढाउनु भयो भन्छ, यति कुरा हामीलाई थाहा थिएन भन्छ, तिम्रो साथीले प्रेजेन्ट गर्न बोलायो भने भन्दैन मलाई थाहा छ, आउँदैन नि त, म त भन्छु, तर यसरी पढाएर हुन्छ के, केही नै हुँदैन, तिमीहरू सुन्छौ बिर्सिन्छौ. This is a poor teaching. Though as a teacher I am explaining probably better, but it's poor. Okay, and I don't feel comfortable teaching this way. Okay. Look, leaves us, and he gives, here, there is a single sentence with one word, with a pronoun. You, yes, us, full stop. Now, as I read, I mark what does he write, why does, it's not why. Why does he write a one-word sentence? When I mark it, because this must be important. Writers, when they want to emphasize an idea, focus on an idea, they use technique. And one technique is, right, you can see, he is using one-word sentence. Us, no subject, no verb, nothing. Us. And this us comes from here. Some rare strain of pioneer spirit was discovered along the trail. Now, look, he talks about pioneer. What does pioneer mean? Pioneer is somebody who does something new. Who is a pioneer? Someone who begins something new. Who is pioneer? Who becomes a leader, who leads people. Because he has discovered something new. He has started something new. Some rare strain of pioneer spirit was discovered along that trail. My teacher believed, again the trail third time, some outside sense of possibility. So the trail represented possibility. Trails, any road represents possibility. I was in Kokani and there was a signpost with branches. One branch said, Moscow, 12,000 kilometers. Now I could walk from Kokani to Moscow, following the trail. Yesterday I was watching a photograph of one Indian man from Bihar or where. He reached Himachal Pradesh on bicycle. And he has been traveling across India or through India for last 2 years. And he says he plans to go around the whole border of India on bicycle. And he is in his mid-50s. He is in his mid-50s. He has an old bicycle, not mountain bicycle like yours. No fancy bicycle. Old simple bicycle. And he's carrying baggage. And he's paddling the bicycle, and he says, I will go around all the Indian border. And he has been for 2 years. That is the meaning of this thing. Every road has a possibility. Every road has a possibility if you have courage to walk. Mixed with a diminished capacity for pessimism. And it was our job as Oregonians to keep that strain alive. Look here. He says it was our, what is that strain? Here, that strain means to be a pioneer. See, so the Oregonians wanted to be a pioneer. What is a pioneer? You become a pioneer when you do something for the first time. And this speaker becomes a pioneer because he establishes a world famous shoe brand for the first time, the Nike shoes. So in the very first page, you have a hint about what's coming up in this story. Here you get the hint. What is that strain? This boy, or when he's writing, he's not a boy. He's almost in his mid-70s. It's a memoir. He is in his mid-70s. And he's remembering his mid-20s. Whatever tha. How old is he when he's writing? You know this thing at the end of the story, where he says, I'm recalling these things half a century later. He says, I'm remembering these things half a century later. He was 24, 25 in 1962. And he gives 1962 as a title to the second chapter. Why? Because if you will see, the second chapter summarizes the major events of his life. In second chapter, that is titled 1962, he presents all the major, he goes around the world. Okay. I would not showing him all due respect. I loved the guy, but walking away, I would sometimes think, geez, it's not just a dirt road. It's not. The trail is not just a dirt road. It is the beginning of a great adventure in life. It is not just a road. It is the starting of a great adventure in life. So, तपाईँ पनि घरबाट निस्कनु भयो, हिँड्नु भयो. Can you turn that trail into a great adventure? You're saying something. के भयो?
Can I go to the sick room?
Okay, केले काट्यो?
धेरै डिप पर्छ कि? त्यहाँ घरबाट बाइक निकाल्दाखेरि त्यहाँ
ल हुन्छ ल जो take care of yourself. त्यसलाई क्लिन गरौ. That, now look here. Novels, stories are examples of creative writing. They are examples of creative writing. And when you make an outline of the story, that's critical writing. That's academic writing. When you summarize the story, that's critical writing, academic writing. So critical and creative go together. You have a creative piece of writing and you are critically looking at it. For example, look here. He says, that foggy morning. So let me tell you, when I say that foggy morning, let's draw a blue line, this one, and draw a blue line like this. So when the narrator is speaking, he is here. As the narrator speaks, he is here. This is now. This is here. And from this point in time, he says, that foggy morning, that momentous morning. The pronoun, this desk, that desk. This points something near you. That points something at a distance. So, when he says that foggy morning, what is he doing? He is remembering his past. He is remembering his past. And that's why this is called a memoir. Because in a memoir, there is memory. Memoir is about memory. Memoir is about memory. And memory is always about past. Memory is always about past. So as you read, one big challenge in reading novels like this or any is the narrative structure. The narrative structure By narrative structure, we mean the time frame in which the story is taking place, time frame. Where is the speaker? When is he speaking? And what time is he taking us to? And you will see that stories do not move like this chronologically. Rarely they move like this chronologically. Stories move recursively. They go like this. The structure is so tangled, it's difficult to figure out at one reading. You have to read multiple times to understand the movement of time, to and forth, past and present. And here is one point that you should note down in your copy, as you read in your book, I mean. You should mark here. What does he say? You should mark here and draw an arrow. This is a dividing line. Past and present. This is past, this is present. That foggy morning. Now ask a question. When does he say that foggy morning? I guess he is about 7 years old when he says this. I'm not sure. I guess. That foggy morning, that momentous morning. I'll note down. Look here. Why does he call it a momentous morning? He says, that momentous morning. Now, look my question. Why does he call it a momentous morning? Momentous, if you call something momentous, it means it was a moment which changed everything. It was a moment which changed everything. Momentous means important. Momentous means significant. And there must be a reason. And if you go down the pages, somewhere he says, if you remember, he says that it was September 1962 when I packed up my bag and left home for world tour. It was a morning in the month of September 1962 when he left home for the world tour. That's why he says that momentous. Why momentous? Because his world adventure began that day. He began his adventure around the world with $1,500 and his friend Carter. Two people start the journey that day. That's why he calls यसरी पढ्ने हो. तपाईलाई पढ्ने इच्छा त छैन. किन पढ्ने? हैन, टाउको किन दुखाउने? किन पढ्ने? दिवाकर सरले पो पढ्ने, हामीले किन पढ्ने हैन? दिवाकर सरले पढे कोखाइ गरेर भनिदिनुहुन्छ, हामीले किन पढ्ने? त्यही भएर दिवाकर सरले पढ्नुहुन्छ, त्यही भएर उहाँले यस्तो कुरा आउँछ. तपाईले पढ्नुहुन्न, तपाईलाई आउँदैन. नपढिकन त कहाँ आउँछ? Okay. That foggy morning, that momentous morning, 1962, I had recently blazed my own trail. Now look here. He says, I had recently blazed my own trail. This is a phrase, blaze your own trail. Or maybe, I don't know if it is an idiom, you can check in the dictionary. If it is a phrase or idiom, if it has a special meaning, you can check. But here, previous when we use the word trail, he means a real trail. In the first page. Here by trail, he means journey. Journey. Look here. Back home after 7 long years away. He had been away for 7 years, maybe for college, high school, +2, bachelor's, master's. And after finishing college, he had come home. So look, he is talking about journey. Now this trail means journey. It was strange being, and there is a big difference between trail and highway and road. Trail, highway, road, they are different. Trails go zigzag. Have you seen trails go like this? Trails never go straight like roads. They go like this. Right? And trails are made by those who walk for the first time somewhere. Somebody has to make a trail. You must walk for the first time to make a trail. And you make a trail when you go for exploration. Have you heard about the novel Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe? This novel is taught in management, in economic classes. I'll encourage you to read it. It's a wonderful novel. The novel's name is a wonderful novel. You might love to read it if someone has the habit of reading stories. Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. It's a story of adventure. It's a story of beginning from zero and becoming a hero. The hero begins with a zero. His ship. He is thrown into the ocean and he is washed to an island where there is no one, and he begins his life. A wonderful story if you love reading. Similar to this story. Robinson Crusoe is similar to this story because this also talks about development of a person, growth of a person. That also talks about the same thing. Okay. It was strange being home again, strange being lashed again by the daily rains. A stranger still was living again with my parents and twin sisters, sleeping in my childhood bed. Late at night, I would lie on my back, staring at my college textbooks and my high school trophies and blue ribbons, thinking, this is me still. Now, this paragraph is important. Why? Because you know a lot of things about his life in this paragraph. For example, you know about his parents, you know that he had twin sisters, you know that he used to sleep in a bed in childhood, right? And then, one more important thing here is, this what is important to me, is steering. He stares at the college textbook and his school trophies, and I'll circle these blue ribbons. This is very important. Because later on, when he's having meeting with the Japanese people in Japan, one shoe factory, when the people ask, what's your company name? They think he has come to import shoes. And he has no idea. He didn't expect that question. So all of a sudden he says, my company name is Blue Ribbon. What is this called? This is called technique to create unity in a story. Look, the word blue ribbon occurs on page 2. And it gets rounded in page 40, 35 somewhere. Second time, the mention of blue ribbon occurs when in Japanese meeting with Japanese people, counterparts, business meeting. I moved quicker down the road. Now again look here. Look, this is past. The verb is in past tense. And when you see a text that has verbs in past, that is called narrative. That is called narrative. And you will see that in narratives, verbs abound. So in the margin, I'll note down, moved down the road. That's how I summarize the plot. My breath formed rounded frosty puffs swirling into the fog. I savored the first physical awakening. Now look here. In the first paragraph, he says that he woke up before anybody, before the sun, and left home. And here he talks about, paragraph 9, he talks about first physical awakening. And I have a question. What does the narrator mean to say by this sentence? Physical awakening. Physical awakening plus spiritual awakening. This narrator has a spiritual awakening. If you remember, if you have read the story, when he goes to Japan, he visits many places and he reads guidebook. And his guidebook tells about Japanese Zen philosophy. And he talks a lot about what Zen philosophy teaches. You read those pages. There is wonderful teaching. So this is a physical awakening as well as He begins with physical awakening and later makes spiritual awakening. So this novel is about awakening. This novel is about awakening. And when you say this novel is about awakening, what do you mean? You mean the person makes many realizations in life and changes and grows. In your life, you change and grow only when you make realizations. Realize your errors. Realize your mistakes. Realize your blunders. And don't repeat them. Then you awaken. Lord Buddha had a spiritual awakening under the peepal tree in Gaya, Bodh Gaya. When for the first time he realized that he is Buddha, not Gautam, Siddhartha Gautam. Awakening. I know, now you are feeling boredom, right? I know. Because you people are not habituated to accept such serious discussion in class. You feel boredom, you yawn and you show indications of laziness because you are not habituated of receiving such talk. Okay, my guess. That brilliant moment before the mind is fully clear. Look, what is that physical awakening? Moment. Your mind is fully clear. When the limbs and joints first begin to loosen and the material body starts to melt away. I could not understand this line. I could not. So it's up to you. You decide what meaning it has. The material body starts to melt away. If material body melts, what body remains? Is spiritual body remains. And you will see, one meaning I get here is, the 40 pages are more about mental. In these 40 pages, 90% of the things happen in the speaker's mind, narrator's mind, because his memoir, he's remembering. It's a memoir, he's remembering. So that in that sense, I might say that the material body melts and the psychological body remains. The mental body remains, I guess so. On paper, faster, I told myself, faster. And even this word faster has meaning. Literally he is on the road and he says faster, fine. Metaphorically, faster means you have to achieve a lot in life, move fast. You have to achieve a lot in life, so move fast. त्यता गफ चलिरहेछ दुई बहिनीहरूको पहिला सोध्छु ल के बारे गफ थियो भनेर सोध्छु ल रमाइलो लाग्यो क्या मलाई हाम्री विशिष्ट विशेषता र के नाम रे यिनको के नाम हो तिम्रो श्रुति के बारे गफ चलिरहेको थियो स्तुति गफ के बारे चलिरहेको थियो केही त थियो यति बोले म अस्ति सुनिरहेको थिएँ त्यही भएर बोलेँ क्या के बारे गफ भइरहेको थियो भन्नु नमिल्ने कुरा थियो हो भन्नु मिल्दैन हो ठिकै छ ल अहिले त दुनियाँले सुन्छ रेकर्डिङ भइरहेछ फेरि होइन यो त यहाँ रेकर्डिङ भइरहेको नि त डिस्टर्ब गरिदियो क्या त्यो म डिस्टर्ब गरिदियो Now there is a turning. On paper, I thought I am an adult. I thought I am an adult. On paper. Because your papers, your documents, they give you your what do you call, I don't know if I have. On paper, you have documentary identities, right? How many ID cards I have? One ID card. Does it have? Yes. This document has my age. This is a PAN number, PAN card. And it says my date of birth is 2026 02 22. On paper, I thought I'm an adult. You have multiple identities. One is biological identity. Another is academic identity. Right now I have academic, I am known as your teacher. And you have documented identity. Identity created by document. This ID card shows I am a student right now. This ID card shows I'm a taxpayer right now. This ID card shows I'm a university teacher right now. This ID card shows I'm a driver right now. This ID card shows I'm a bank account holder right now. This ID card shows, no, it's my father's ID card. Right? Your documents create your identity. Identity is fluid. It's very fluid. Okay. On paper, I thought I am an adult, graduated from a good college, University of Oregon, earned a master's from a top business school, Stanford, survived a year-long hitch in the US Army, Fort Lewison, Fort Eustis. My resume said I was a learned, accomplished soldier. A 24 years old man in full. Now we know his age. A 24 years old man. So why I wondered, why do I still feel like a kid? Look, here still means at 75. Still means when he's 70. When he's writing this, maybe he's 70, I guess, so I'm not sure. Because he says that I am remembering all these things half a century later. Right? Why do I feel like a kid? Huh? Tomorrow is holiday. Tomorrow is holiday. Ram Navami. Okay. So he poses a question. Why do I still feel like a kid? Worse, like the same shy, pale, rain-thin kid I'd always been. Maybe because, look here. He puts a question here. He puts a question. And he answers in the next paragraph. You ask, this is called reflection. What is reflection? Reflection is raising questions to yourself and attempting to answer them to yourself. That's how you learn. What is reflection? You ask questions to yourself, important questions, and you answer them. Maybe because I still hadn't experienced anything of life. Why think he's a kid? Look here. He has no experience of life. So it's not age that makes him mature. It's experience that makes him mature. What makes you mature? Not age. Do you have a boyfriend? You're not mature. Have you smoked a cigarette? You're not mature. Have you drunk alcohol? Not mature. Have you tried drugs? You're not mature. You're a kid.